I've done a lot of spell videos, the most powerful, the most dangerous, the hardest to cast, but one I've always wanted to make involves taking a look at the most messed up. Not the deadliest, not the flashiest, but the kind of spell that makes you question why someone would even invent it in the first place. Fortunately, I've gone down the spell rabbit hole pretty deep. I've even made an entire video covering every single spell in the wizarding world, so I've got a pretty solid grasp on the full spellbook. Which is why today, we're shining a light on the most messed up, demented spells the wizarding world has to offer. Spells that exist to inflict pain, humiliation, and sometimes just pure, senseless suffering. Instead of focusing on the obvious ones, my goal for this video will be to dig deeper into the cruel, obscure, and morally bankrupt curses, hexes, and jinxes that most of you probably haven't even heard of. But before we get stuck in, I do want to highlight one consideration. Sometimes it's not about what the spell is inherently, it's about how it's used. Something that seems harmless on the outside, like a spell used to mend a broken teacup, can quickly become a tool of torment in the wrong hands. Anyway, let's dive into it. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. In no particular order, let's get things going. The blood quill. Now, this may be an object and not a curse, but the key consideration here is that it only functions in the way that it does because of the spell that was placed on it. And what an insidious spell it is. This cursed object, which cuts words into your skin as you write, was infamously used by Umbridge during her time at Hogwarts as a form of punishment. It's particularly sinister not only because of the physical pain you endure, but also because of the psychological toll that one endures when subjected to it. It's like a form of punishment disguised as discipline. He let out a gasp of pain. The words had appeared on the parchment in what appeared to be shining red ink. At the same time, the words had appeared on the back of Harry's right hand, cut into his skin as though traced there by a scalpel. Yet, even as he stared at the shining cut, the skin healed over again, leaving the place where it had been slightly redder than before, but quite smooth. He looked back at the parchment, placed the quill upon it once more, wrote, "I must not tell lies," and felt the searing pain on the back of his hand for a second time. Once again, the words had been cut into his skin. Once again, they healed over seconds later. And on it went. 2. Transmogrifian torture. This sadistic curse that a lot of you may not know about effectively combines the effects of Crucio with a form of transmogrification or transfiguration. And while this terrible, terrible curse does indeed kill its victims, it doesn't do so until it has caused them intense, torturous pain stretched out over a considerable period of time. If we look at the etymology of the curse's name, which features transmogrify, it would suggest that the curse stretches the victim in a multitude of directions, grotesquely contorting their bodies until they die. The combination of the fact that this spell is lethal and tortures you in unprecedented ways makes this an easy choice for the list. 3. Evanesco. This spell, also known as the vanishing spell, is used to make objects vanish or disappear. When cast, it causes the targeted object to evaporate or dissolve into nothingness, making it effectively vanish from sight. Seems innocuous, right? But like I mentioned earlier, sometimes it's about how the spell is used. Imagine this. Someone casts Evanesco on a living creature, on a person. One moment they're walking, laughing, breathing, existing, and the next, gone. Nobody, no remains, no explanation. Just silence where life once was. And this is terrifying because it raises a bunch of other questions, namely the question of where they went. Were they transported to some unknown magical void, or were they simply erased from existence? McGonagall once stated that vanished objects went into non-being, but that's a whole other conversation. The idea of a spell that can wipe someone from reality with no trace, that's not just powerful, it's terrifying. 4. Entrail expelling curse. The Entrail expelling curse is fairly self-explanatory. It's a curse that forces your entrails, insides and organs, to be magically expelled, ripped from the body. The curse is incredibly lethal, and unquestionably, it kills you a lot more brutally than Avada kedavra. The curse itself was invented by Urquhart Rackharrow, a 17th century wizard that was purportedly a healer. But given that he is credited as the creator of such a brutal curse, I can only guess that he mistakenly created it without any sort of nefarious intent. In fact, it's theorized that the original intention of the curse, or spell in this case, was to expel blockages from entrails. However, somewhere along the way, someone must have realized the true destructive potential of this lethal curse. 5. Scalping Hex. Historically, scalping refers to the act of removing either the entire scalp, the skin and hair from the top of the head, or just the hair of a person, often as a trophy of war. It served as a symbol of dominance, a way for warriors to display their victory in the most graphic way possible. While the description of the scalping hex in Harry Potter may sound innocent at first, big deal, they lose their hair, the fact that the hair on their head is forcibly removed is actually pretty brutal. If the hex simply vanished the hair, I don't think I would place it on a list, and as it happens, there is actually a spell for that as well, Calvorio. In the series, Harry actually takes note of this spell when scanning basic hexes for the busy and vexed. Instant scalping, but dragons had no hair. 6. Epoximise. Similar to Evanesco, this spell doesn't seem all that sinister on the surface. It's a basic binding charm, typically used to fuse two objects together. Simple, practical, harmless. How this spell actually operates is still not fully understood, but there are a couple of prevailing theories. Some believe it temporarily transforms one of the objects into a magical adhesive, while others suggest it conjures a bonding agent, something sticky and invisible that holds the items together. Either way, it's designed to be helpful, but as always, the real danger lies in how it's used. And when spells like this fall into the wrong hands, even seemingly ordinary magic can take a very dark turn. Given that this spell permanently binds objects together, I can only imagine how destructive this spell could be in the wrong hands. Torture, humiliation, you name it. 7. Mutatio Sculus. This one's fairly explanatory, and its basic function can be derived from the incantation. Basically, it's a dark form of transfiguration that mutates the victim's skull in grotesque and unpredictable ways. Elongated jaws, misplaced eye sockets, twisted bone structures, and, in extreme cases, even additional heads. Allegedly, the spell was used by ancient Egyptian wizards to protect tombs, serving not only as a powerful deterrent, but also as a grim warning. Those who triggered the curse would often emerge horrifically disfigured, mutated and broken, becoming a living message to others that grave robbing would not be tolerated. Similar to this spell is Engorgio Sculus, a dark charm which causes the victim's head to swell. James Potter in Sirius Black once used this spell on Bertram Aubrey, causing his head to double in size. And people still say James was a nice guy. 8. Tentaclifors. Yet another dark spell in the head transfiguration category is Tentaclifors, a dark charm that transfigured the head of the targeted individual into a tentacle. While it might sound like a bizarre joke spell, something cooked up by Fred and George, the reality is that the effects of this spell are horrifying. The victim loses all normal sensory function, sight, speech, even balance, and is left with a mass of twisting appendages in place of their head. It's also entirely unclear how permanent this curse is, and whether or not it can be reversed. 9. Oscausi. Imagine that skin grows over where your mouth is supposed to be, and suddenly losing the ability to speak or breathe through your mouth. Well, that's exactly what Oscausi does. When cast, Oscausi causes the victim's mouth to completely disappear, as if it was never there to begin with. Skin grows over the area, leaving behind a smooth patch where the lips once were. And the result of this is total silence. The victim is left completely mute, unable to speak, scream, or make a sound. This invasive, cruel charm was actually used by Leta Lestrange on a girl from Gryffindor when they were both in their 3rd year at Hogwarts. 10. Obliviate. Obliviate is one of the spells that doesn't strike you at first as being particularly sinister, and this is partially due to the fact that it's used a fair bit in the series, notably by Hermione on her own parents. But in actuality, this spell has the propensity to be one of the worst spells around. This charm allows the caster to erase specific memories from an individual's mind, and we saw this exact spell used and abused excessively by famous fraudster Gilderoy Lockhart, who erased the memories of accomplished witches and wizards and laid claim to their accomplishments. This alone highlights just how dangerous the spell can be in the wrong hands. Lockhart's victims not only lost their sense of identity and past, but also became shells of their former selves, some never recovering. The charm doesn't just remove a memory, it erases a piece of who someone is, And when you consider that our memories shape our personalities, relationships, and understanding of the world, the implications become truly terrifying. It can be cast quickly, quietly, and without much visible effect, making it perfect for manipulation. What makes it even more insidious is that the victim may never know that anything was done to them. They simply forget. 11. Love Potion. Okay, I know this one isn't a spell per se, but the idea that someone's autonomy can be taken away from them with the sip of a potion seems incredibly nefarious to me. Amortentia is considered by many to be the most dangerous potion of all, as it doesn't even induce actual love, just a semblance of love that is derived from strong obsession. If the Harry Potter story reinforces anything, it's that love is extremely powerful. And that's precisely what makes Amortentia so disturbing. It doesn't create love, it fakes it. It manipulates a person's emotions, overrides their true feelings, and bends their will towards someone else. That's not romance, that's control. Even worse, love potions are often treated like a joke in the wizarding world. We see Fred and George selling them at their shop, students giggling about their effects, and even Ron falling victim to one in Half-Blood Prince. But if you take a step back, it's a form of magical coercion. Stripped of its humorous context, it's clear that using a love potion on someone is a violation of their free will. 12. Cruciatus Curse. You knew it was coming eventually, but I'll keep it brief. The Cruciatus Curse, also known as Crucio, inflicts excruciating pain on the victim. Pain so excruciating that it is considered to be torturous. Casting Crucio is said to require a wand and incantation, and its effects are said to vary depending on the caster's desires and emotions. To produce the excruciating pain implied by the name, the caster must despise the victim and enjoy causing pain. Harry Potter, after Crucio was cast on him, described it as feeling like his head was being split open while having his bones set on fire. 13. Imperius Curse. Another of the 3 unforgivable curses, Imperio forces the victim to perform the unquestioned bidding of the caster. Being under the control of this spell is said to be like experiencing a wonderful release from any sense of responsibility, making them extremely susceptible to any sort of influence from the caster. Because of this adopted carefree attitude, the victim is inclined to carry out tasks for the caster without any sort of moral compass or awareness of the caster's intentions or desires. The horrendous possibilities with this curse are effectively endless. It's arguably the worst one. 14. Avada Kedavra. The killing curse, otherwise known as Avada Kedavra, is a curse that kills the victim in the blink of an eye, causing instantaneous death. After uttering the incantation, the spell produces a blindingly intense green bolt of light right before the victim simply drops dead. There are 2 theories for how they die, the first claiming that the victim's internal organs cease to function after being struck, and the second claiming that the soul of the victim is magically ripped from their body. Either way, there's a reason it's unforgivable, as the cause of death is still not really understood. The police had never read an odder report. A team of doctors had examined the bodies and had concluded that none of the riddles had been poisoned, stabbed, shot, strangled, suffocated, or, as far as they could tell, harmed at all. In fact, the report continued in a tone of unmistakable bewilderment, the riddles all appeared to be in perfect health, apart from the fact that they were all dead. The doctors did note, as though determined to find something wrong with the bodies, that each of the riddles had a look of terror upon his or her face. But as the frustrated police said, who ever heard of 3 people frightened to death? 15. Stretching Jinx. Another one of those spells that sounds fairly innocuous, the Stretching Jinx does exactly what it sounds like. It stretches people. And while that does sound like a bit of fun, or potentially a harmless prank, the reality is that stretching someone makes it difficult for them to move and function normally. Furthermore, the Jinx bears the potential to do irreversible damage to someone's physical structure. There's certainly nothing funny about that, and if used by the wrong person, this spell could cause some serious damage. And that's it for today's video. Which spells and curses did you learn about today? Which ones did I miss? Let me know down in the comment section below. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.